here today, and that's Dr. Wijdan Al.
I just want to close.
Oh,
thank you so much, Dr. Bafa. Thank you. That's so nice of you.
And let me get this back up. Sorry. Okay. So Dr. Alsayegh, she is a professor at the University of Michigan, and her topic is Arab woman novelist and racism, Buthaina, Khudr, Makki, and Zainab Hefni. Dr. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Okay, so did you see the PowerPoint, guys?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay. So I am delighted to be a part of this conference. We are celebrating our a great writer, Nawal Saadawi, and I would like to give Kamal credits for this initiate step, because she deserved that. And unfortunately, we reach her at the end of her, what could I say? It's for her journey, long journey, suffering journey. So I would like to start with, actually, I would like to be brief because it's my project. I would like to be brief. So the Arab women novelists are considered as a bright accomplishment of the Arab narrative scene because their bold novels strip the Arab social and religious taboos and provoke to remove their decorated cover, which is done by the collective patriarchal imagination. Under this umbrella, there are many women novelists that are from different generations and Arab cultures, along with the Arab world. These names are spiritually related to Shahrazad, the first narrative, and her ability to domesticate Shahriyar, who presented the brutality of the patriarchy and its bloody repressive power. Perhaps the most important of these novelists is Nawal Saadawi, who is considered the legitimate daughter of Shahrazad through her struggle of defend women's rights against the patriarchal cultural practices that permits and bless discrimination against women and treat them as the body of lust and seduction only. Al-Saadawi's novels stood bravely in the face of all forms of the patriarchy, religious, political, and social system. Nawal Saadawi confirmed this in her latest interview, quote, Al-Azhar has been against me since my book, Mudhakkarat Tabiba, was published. It considered me as an infidel several times and demanded to sue me to court and revoke my citizenship. This demand led me to flee into exile, end of quote. She added, quote, you ask me why my books were banned? Because I spoke the truth, because they wanted to kill me like they killed Socrates before me, because they kill any voice raised against the racist, patriarchal, political system that conceals behind all of the religions, end of quote. Two examples of her brave novels are Suqut al-Imam, the fall of the Imam, in which she exposed the practices of the political system that disguises religion. The other novel, Women on Zero Point, Imra'a and Nuqtat al-Safar, which discussed through Firdaus, the protagonist, multiple forms of gender discrimination, explored through plots the physical and psychological abuse that reflected Firdausi's suffering. The narration led Firdaus to her tragic ending as a pitiful character with her illness and loneliness. There are many women novelists who stand under the umbrella of challenging taboos, gendericide, discrimination, feminicide, sexism, etc. For example, the Egyptian novelist Miral al-Tahawi discussed in her novel, The Tent, Al-Khiba, published in 1995, the feminicide and the patriarchal system. The protagonist exposes a cousin's marriage and as a forced marriage and its sequences that led the protagonist to her tragic end in her isolation after a long term of the psychological and physical abuse. Also, the narration perfectly reflects the feature of submissive females who presented the conservative gatekeepers of the patriarchal paradigms. The Kuwaiti novelist Layla Al-Uthman, in her novel Al-Muhakama, The Trial, published in 2004, exposes the radical religious group, which is presented by the Muslim Brotherhood organization. She reveals its sexist, misogynist practices and the social role in degrading the status of women in general and the female writer in particular. Fawzia Salim al-Shuwaish, in her novel The Ladders of the Day, Salalim al-Nahar, published in 2012, sheds light on the discrimination against al-Bidun in Gulf society and monitored its psychological impact through the complicated plots. The Emirati novelist Maysoon Saqr al-Qasimi stand in her novel Rayhana, published in 2003, to shed light on slavery in Gulf society through her heroine Rayhana, who came to an end of the novel psychologically shattered. However, two bold Arab women novelists take the hardest path when they decided to briefly expose not only the regular topic of the patriarchal paradigm and social taboos, but furthermore, they explicitly expose the sectarianism act against the specific religious sect and the racism against the Black Arabs. The Sudani, I'm not sure if this one, I think, yeah. The Sudani novelist, the Saudi novelist, Zainab Hefni, in her novel, Wisada Lihubbik, Pillow for Your Love, published in 2011, which exposes the sectarianism against the Shiite Arab, and the Sudani novelist, Buthaina Makki, in her novel, Hujul Min Shok, The Ankle Bracelet of Thorn, published in 2004, reflects the racist action against the Black Arabs. Zainab Hefni novels and Zainab Hefni's novels and stories have been considered a backbone of the Saudi narrative scene. Zainab exposes through her difficult journey with her career as a novelist social taboos such as the patriarchal paradigm, homosexual relations, marginalized social class, sect, women's rights, etc. Her daring writings caused her book to be banned and excluded from the media. She was exiled. Zainab's bold writing caused her name to be associated publicly with Nawal Saadawi. She proudly responded about being a Nawal Saadawi of Saudi Arabia in her television interview by saying, a quote, "I'm proud to be carrying this title. I wish I had it. I admire the model of Nawal Saadawi as she is a pioneer of the Arab feminist movement and as she demanded the financial independence of women to demand their rights from men," end quote. In her novel, Wisada لحبك, Below for Your Love, the Shiite protagonist, Ja'far, reflect the details of the sectarian practices against the Shiite sect through different narrative contexts. The novel explores through the plots, characters, time, and place setting the impact of these degrading practices that judge people not on their humanity, but on their religious sectarian identity. For example, the following narrative excerpts include a dialogue between Fatima, the Sunni heroine, and Ja'far, who are in love. She asked him to talk a little bit about his family. He smiled purely and said, "What do you want to know? From the moment that I met you, I've been keen to be an open book. I'm from an Al-Baqir family, Shiite Qatif families," and she cut him off with an alarmed tone. "What? You are Shiite? Why didn't you tell me this when we met yesterday?" He gulped at the insult. "Tell me the truth. Is this matter so important to you? Even if it is not, do you think that my Sunni family would easily welcome the idea of my marrying a Shia?" Hefni 15. This dialogue reflects the depth of the psychological gap between the two protagonists, the two lovers, Fatima and Ja'far, after the sectarian affiliation of Ja'far was revealed. The external dialogue reflects two different tones from Fatima. The first tone showed she was equal to Ja'far, but soon after she knew Ja'far's belonged to the Shiite sect, Fatima tones turned furious and arrogant. This escalates and develops to reveal the nature of the social and psychological isolation that this sect suffered from. Another narrative scene illuminates Ja'far's awareness of another grieving memory of marginalization when he says, quote, "I was fascinated by the femininity flowing through her voice as she talked with me over the phone. In the early days, her speech was mostly focused on America and the period of her life when she studied there and her dream of living in the bustling city of New York, her nostalgia for the freedom that she breathed as she walked in the New York streets, her continued disappointment since she returned to Saudi Arabia, and her inability to exercise and to work as a lawyer after her graduation from law school were clear. Her tone mixed with rebellion, anger towards her empty life. She was familiar with considerable political circumstances. I don't know how the conversation detoured to the history of Shiites, Sunnis, and to the First Gulf War, and to the involvement of Iran in Iraq's internal affairs, and to Saudi Shiite. I don't know how to show the enthusiasm that I have and my sympathy for Shiite and with their right to ascend to high position in the government, similar to the Sunnis. There was silence between us, breached by her voice, her tone tense, saying, "Your defense of Shiites is strange. Regardless of being my family, I am talking here as a human being." She was stunned. by my response and said, "Why didn't you tell me that you are Shi'i?" Both Shi'i and Sunnis believe that there is no God except Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. This is invalid, what you claim. There are many fundamental differences between us. I cannot lie about history. Sorry, I do not want to talk with Rafidi. She hung up the phone with this sharp tone and without saying bye. I couldn't believe my ear. How can a young woman who studied abroad and has wide cultural experiences be so mentally reactionary? Indeed, Ja'far's monologue intensifies his confusion about this sectarian action of the new generation, which was represented by the other Sunnis protagonists, with the prevailing low view of that sect. Obviously, this narrative scene exposes the intellectual double standard of the educated new generation through the protagonist character that Ja'far loved. He was obsessed, she was obsessed by human rights and the freedom of speech as a lawyer who graduated from the land of freedoms and human rights, New York. Ja'far understands their frustration and psychological breakdown due to her inability to achieve her dream as a social activist in Saudi Arabia. However, as soon as she knew that Ja'far belonged to the Shiite sect, she gave herself the authority to apply the stereotypical comment upon his sect. She directly addressed her superiority as a Sunni by hanging up the phone without hesitation, saying with an angry voice, quote, "Sorry, I don't want to talk with Rafidi," end of quote. Indeed, Ja'far's question, quote, "How can a young woman who studied abroad and has wide cultural experiences be so mentally reactionary," end of quote, perpetuated the prejudice of the new generation represented by this protagonist who prevail antipathy towards that sect. Question to Wiam. Wiam, do I have time to talk about Buthaina Khudr Makki? How much time do I have?
Hi. Okay, so
because Buthaina Khudr Makki, there is like two. How much time do I have?
Yeah, so you started at 11:45. I'm sorry, yeah, 11:45. So you've been almost 20 minutes, but we haven't been taking questions. So if you want to use up this time to talk.
Just a brief 5 minutes, is that okay? 5 minutes?
You have 5 minutes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. The other bold writers is the novelist Buthaina Khudr Makki. Her fictional writings discuss the social taboos, which refers to her difficult journey that lasted more than 30 years and formed a remarkable accomplishment in the Sudanese narrative scene. In her novel Hujul min al-Shawq, the narration reflects through the two Black protagonists, Nasra and Mahjoub, their difficult journey to work outside of Sudan, which details the racist action that dehumanizes them and humiliates their humanity. I would like to just go over one excerpt. So this is from Hujul min al-Shawq directly. So she is not Arab. She suspected that after residence in Saudi Arabia, she remembered that day when her daughter was complaining to her that her classmates at school used the humiliating term abda to describe her. She was stunned initially. At her grandfather's home in Sudan, there is a long, ancient transcript in gold frame that proves her Arab lineage, relating her descent from Abbasid and Qurayshis. She thought that her daughter is Arab and her descent extended from Al-Abbas, the Prophet's uncle. And actually, the whole novel based on Nasra and Mahjoub, who they were treated as, sorry to say, abid, because they have a black skin color. And that will give the two protagonists like the complicated time, psychological effect when they have like they try to say we are Arab but we are black people. So this is, and I would like to go to the conclusion. The conclusion. The conclusion. In some, the two novelists, Zainab Hefni and Buthaina Khudr Makki, were bravely able to expose the racist action and sectarian towards the religious sect and the Black Arab. Their novels boldly explore the social norm that allows these practices to strip human beings of their humanity and segregate them in a circle of submission and isolation. Both novelists believe in importance of the word in predicting what would be worse if these social epidemic remained permitted and protected by religious and political paradigms, because the continuation of these social epidemic will necessarily create psychological breakdown among new Arab generations that prevents the development of society. And these works actually remind me with Toni Morrison, exactly the same message. Toni Morrison, when she started to write this, The Bluest Eyes, if you read The Bluest Eyes, so it means she just revealed the cover of the Black society to be sure that what's going on. Thank you so much, and sorry for taking too much time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you know what, Wijdan, I just wanted to say something. I looked up the poem with regards to Enhedwana, just one line to clarify with regards to the lepers.
Yeah.
She says that she went from being at the Holy Temple, and she says, now I have been cast out to the place of lepers. So that's where they put her, but that's not what she had. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.